First of all, my friends, I hope this finds you well. So today I wanted to share with you a sermon I actually preached on Thursday just gone. But it was one of those sermons that every now and again, anybody who preaches will tell you that they write one and it sticks with them. They write one and it helps them. John Wesley used to say he converted himself. I'm not quite that good. But this was one of those ones that just... it seemed to speak to me, it seemed to show me something. So let's picture the scene from the gospel. It's in the description, don't panic. But let's picture the scene. It's early morning, the sun is just poking above the clouds. It's not here, it's like middle of the afternoon. But this is the shores of Lake Gennesaret, also known as the Sea of Galilee. Fishermen are washing their nets. They're tired. Dare I say it, they're a wee bit frustrated. They're probably hacked off because it's been a long, fruitless night. And of course, as with now really, if you don't catch anything, you don't get paid. Among these fishermen is Simon Peter. Of course, we know he starts off being called Simon and he gets rebranded as Peter by Jesus. He's a professional fisherman, is old Simon. But today, or this evening rather, he's caught nothing. Nothing. Zip, zilch, not a sausage. Then Jesus shows up and everything changes. Jesus doesn't approach him though with a sermon. He doesn't even approach him with a miracle. The beginning of their relationship is actually very, very unique because Jesus asks Simon Peter for something. Peter, who I absolutely get on at quite a lot. Peter, who when I read that bit in Acts where he tries to tell us that we've all got to keep kosher and be circumcised, and I just want to slap him. I'm so glad Paul won that debate. I like bacon. But those moments, we see Peter, we see him as the flawed man that he is, like when he denies Jesus 3 times. But here, Jesus approaches him and he asks him a very simple question. Can I use your boat? It's that simple. It's that small. Can I use your boat? And what follows this question, these turn of events, it's not just a miracle about fish. It's a miracle of calling, of surrender, of transformation. See, the story isn't just about Simon Peter. It's about me and you as well. It's about Jesus still stepping into those boats today. It's about Jesus stepping into our ordinary lives, calling us from shallow waters where things are safe and calm and comfortable into the deep waters where maybe we don't know quite what's going to happen. Jesus steps into the ordinary. And so he approaches Simon Peter and he says to him, look, can I use your boat? And of course he says, yeah, of course you can climb in. Now, that straight away, right? He's just worked a night shift. Now, I used to work nights. I know how tough it can be. And when you come home, the last thing you want to be doing is doing a favour for somebody. What you want to do is come home, maybe throw a cup of tea down your neck, see the kids off to school, and get your ass to bed. Because that's exactly how it used to go. I've worked night shifts. I know what it's like. Even when I used to work on a Saturday night, a parish priest I used to have years ago would expect me to be in church on a Sunday morning. And I won't lie, I thought he was being a wee bit unreasonable with that. But my point is, Jesus approaches Peter, who has been up all night working and has had a fruitless night. Asks him if he can get in the boat. He says, yeah, okay, no problem. They pull a wee bit far out, not too far, just in the shallow waters, because Jesus, of course, has got the crowd around him. Again, the gospel reading's all in the description. Peter is tired. Of course he would be. And Jesus could have taught from the shore. Absolutely. He could teach from anywhere. But he chooses to enter Simon's boat. Why does he enter Simon's boat? Because he enters Simon's world. You see, that lake of Gennesaret, that body of water, Peter's probably been fishing there since he was a kid. He's probably fished there since he was a young boy. That is his arena. That boat is his. He's bought and paid for that. That is his arena. Jesus approaches and asks if he can use it. It's significant. Why? Because he's stepping in to Peter's world. Peter's tired. He's cleaning the nets. He's probably, like I just said, discouraged. But Jesus chooses that moment to walk in. Peter is spiritually drained. Jesus doesn't walk in when Peter's ready. He doesn't wait for that right moment to go, right, now he's going to listen to me. He doesn't do that. What he does is he goes to Simon Peter when he's beat up. He goes to him when he's down. He goes to him when he's spiritually knackered. He goes to him when he's frustrated, physically tired, emotionally drained. And in all honesty, he's probably just had a blooming nuff. He's thinking about chucking it all in, because he's fished these waters since he was a small boy and he has caught nothing this evening. The lesson here is this: Jesus will step into our lives when we least expect it. You and I, if we wait for the perfect moment, it may never come. If Jesus had waited for Peter to be ready, do you think we'd be talking about St. Peter now? Knowing Peter like we do, he would never have been bloody ready. Never! And so here we are. So it's not when we expect it that Jesus will step into our lives. Sometimes it's not even in a church service. I've openly said this. The church, of course, is a hospital for the soul. And Jesus is always ready, willing and able to meet us there. But it's not always there that he does meet us. Sometimes Jesus will meet us in the middle of work. Sometimes he'll meet us in the middle of disappointment. Sometimes he'll meet us even in the middle of a routine. I had a testimony given to me a while ago, which again I'm working on doing the video for that, where someone felt the hand of Jesus upon them while they were doing the washing up. They stood at the sink doing dishes, and Jesus comes over and goes, and gets them. I mean, if you've listened to any of my previous videos, Jesus got me while I was having a bacon sandwich. And so Jesus walks into Peter's disappointment. He walks in to that perfect moment, because the perfect moment comes when Jesus creates it. And so, my friends, and this is by no means the end of this video. Don't panic. I know, 7 minutes. Long vid. But is there an area of our lives that feels ordinary or even messy? Is there an area of our lives that may just be where Jesus could pop up? All I'm saying is look. All right, keep your eyes out and look. Those areas where you tend to keep them behind closed doors because they're a wee bit difficult to deal with, have a look. You never know. He may be waiting for you in there. Secondly, Peter, we see this journey that he takes of obedience before understanding. Obedience before understanding. Jesus tells him to put out into deep water and let his net down for a catch. He says, listen, he says, Master, we've worked hard all night, but today's parlance, mate, you're having a laugh. We've worked all night, we've caught nothing. What's the point in doing it during the day? You see, because the request seems a little bit absurd. But then Peter hits us with one of the greatest lines of scripture I've personally ever read. Because you say so, I will let down the nets. Because you say so. Obedience before understanding. You see, my friends, Peter is tired. Peter thinks that this is a waste of time. Peter is a professional fisherman. He knows the best time to catch fish is at night. But you know what? He does it anyway. Because Jesus tells him to. Because you say so, I will let down the nets. Because you say so. Obedience to Jesus will often define logic, or defy logic even. He will ask us to do things that don't always make sense, to go places where ordinarily maybe we wouldn't go. We even get things that are somewhat paradoxical, like loving our enemies, forgiving those that hurt us, tithing when we've got nothing, stepping out in faith, even when it feels wrong, when there's a whole world out there telling us that we're idiots. Obedience to Jesus, it's still one of those things. Because you say so, that is the heart of faith. Because you say so, and I'm going to keep saying those words, because you say so. How beautiful is that? How absolutely amazing is that? Because we've all been in situations, you, me, anybody who listens to this, we've all been in situations where we ain't been sure what to do. We've all been in situations where we're thinking, which way do I go now? And all of a sudden, we get an inkling of what to do. And we think, hang on, that's totally out of type. I would never do that. Because you say so. So, my friends, where is Jesus asking us to obey before we understand? Remember, obedience before understanding. What is our deep water? Where are we expected to push out to and to cast our nets, even after it's seemed fruitless before? And then we're told in the gospel that they caught such a large number of fish that their nets begin to break. This miracle doesn't come when Simon Peter is out on that lake under his own strength. He catches nothing when he's out there on his own. When he goes out there with Jesus, oh look, he catches tons. He catches so much the nets can't handle it. He catches so much he has to shout the boys over to help him. Lads, quick, give me a hand. Only when his nets were full, he had to call others to help. You know why? Because when we are blessed by God, it's often not just us that get the blessing. God blesses beyond us. Our blessings will flow over so that others are drawn in too. This miracle happens. It's just Simon Peter on that boat. He calls his business partners over, James and John, sons of Zebedee. Boom. Straight away. Jesus has gone. Actually, I tell you, it's Peter and his brother. Sorry, do apologise. But yeah, we get that. Straight away, Jesus has gone from being a man on his own to having 4 people with him. God doesn't need our strength. That's the truth. God doesn't need our strength. It's God. He can do anything. But what he likes is that relationship with us. He likes us not so much to give in, but to absolutely allow him to use our will to move us where we're needed. And honestly, that grace will come when you and when I realise that we cannot catch fish without him, that we cannot fill our nets to the point that they're heaving without him. And so, my friends, another question comes. Are we exhausted because we've been fishing all night under our own steam? Are we exhausted because we've been fishing all night under our own strength? Maybe it's time to let Jesus take the lead. Just saying. And then this encounter with Jesus changes how we see ourselves. The scripture tells us when Simon Peter saw this, he fell at Jesus' knees and said, "Go away from me, Lord, for I am a sinful man." Peter sees the fish, but more importantly, he finally sees Jesus. He sees who is in front of him. And when he does, he sees himself a wee bit more clearly. He goes from calling Jesus Master, which I suppose is the equivalent of Sir, to calling him Lord. Very, very different things. The miracle doesn't just impact Peter's nets, it impacts his heart. Each of us here in this little community, you, me, everybody, will have had an encounter with Jesus. And what happens is in that encounter is that things change. We're never the same after that moment. We're not supposed to be. It's supposed to change us. Look at Simon Peter. He goes from being a fisherman, a frustrated fisherman, to kneeling in front of his Messiah. And he doesn't even know that yet. This is the best part. On a spiritual level, they haven't actually been introduced. We don't see Jesus walk up and go, "Hey mate, all right, I'm Jesus, how's things?" We don't see that. We see Peter say, "Lord, I'm not worthy. I'm a sinful man." Aren't we all, brother? Aren't we all? He realises he's in the presence of the Messiah and he doesn't feel worthy. But Jesus doesn't reject Peter. What he does, he draws him in. He pulls him close. And then, and I love this, there's slightly before here now, quick reflection question, okay? When was the last time you were truly in awe of Jesus? Not just for what he can do, but who he is. Because that's something else. Often we go to Jesus with our laundry list. What if we just say, "Look, thanks for being you"? Anyway, that's an intercession video. The next part, and I love this, right? Jesus says to Simon, "Do not be afraid. From now on, you will fish for people." Do not be afraid. I love those words. I think I've read somewhere before, and I need to check this really, that those words appear 365 times in the Bible. That's one for every single day. Different forms said by different people. Do not be afraid. Jesus says this to Simon Peter. He says, do not be afraid. From now on, you shall fish for people. The story ends not with a celebration over the catch, but with Peter walking away from it. Let's stop there. Think about this. Like I just said earlier, Peter gets paid when he makes a catch. What he has got on those boats when he gets back to shore is the biggest score of his career. He's never had anything bigger than that. He probably never will. He's rich. He's set up for life. He could probably have the boat kitted out. There is more than a few mugs of ale on that table. In that boat, there are mountains of denarius just waiting in the nets to be taken away and sold. And what does Peter do? He walks away. Biggest score of his life. And he walks away. Why does he walk away from it? Because Peter realizes this: the miracle isn't the point. The fish aren't the point. Jesus was the point. The catch was just the method that Jesus used to call Peter into that greater mission. Jesus doesn't just want to improve our lives. He wants to redirect them. Because so many of us, testimonies abound, honestly, of people that have been going one way through their lives. Jesus has gone, hello, how are you? I'm Jesus. And we've gone, and our careers have changed. Our trajectories have changed. Things for us have changed. We have changed. Jesus wants to redirect our lives to call us to something deeper than earthly success. Peter could absolutely have taken that score, gone to market and lived like probably quite a rich man for the rest of his life. But he doesn't. Peter takes the gamble. He goes from comfort to calling, from catching fish to catching people. My friends, what boat, what net is Jesus asking us to leave behind? What score have we got to walk away from? Because those things can weigh us down. Money, success, fame, they can weigh us down. Is that what's keeping us from following him? Walk away. Leave it on the shore. Somebody else will deal with it. And so, my friends, this story today, this gospel today, it's about movement. It's about movement from shallow water to deep water. Shallow water is where it's comfortable, where we know what we're doing, where it's fun, it's easy, we can probably still see the bottom. To deep water, I know if you're my mum, you hate deep water, but to deep water, where maybe you can't see the bottom, where maybe we do need to trust Jesus a wee bit more, because we're not entirely sure what's down there. We move from empty nets to overflowing blessings. That one's self-explanatory. We go from fisherman to follower. And my brothers and sisters, we go from fear to faith. Jesus is still speaking. Even now, some 2,000 years later, Jesus is still speaking. Push out into the deep. Trust me, even when it doesn't make sense. Follow me, and I'll make you fishers of people. And so, my friends, to bring this into land today, because it's nearly 20 minutes long, I got a couple of rhetorical questions. Take these away and answer them yourselves in here. Where are you today? Are you stuck in shallow waters? Are you playing it safe? Are you clinging to your boat? Are you still clinging to those empty nets, hoping against hope that today is the day you're going to make that catch? Or are you ready to launch out into the deeper waters, into deeper trust, deeper obedience, deeper purpose with Jesus? Because Jesus isn't calling you to only a better life. He's calling you to a greater mission. My friends, my last question to you today is this. Will you follow him? God bless you, my friends, and take care.